maybe start off here with Paul. Well, what would you say is the best practice in terms of buying or selling franchisors?
The best practice is starting out with a franchisee even before they become a franchisee is understanding what their exit strategy is and having a solid plan. But let's assume they already are a franchisee and they're working towards whatever the reason is that they want to get out. It's kind of a lot like selling your house. We live in a house for 10, 15, 20, 30 years, and now it's time to sell. So the first thing we do is we declutter, we make sure it has good curb appeal. That ugly painted room from the 70s gets repainted a neutral color. Maybe the avocado appliances get thrown out, and there's a little bit of sprucing up. It's no different in a business. And really you have to look at it from the perspective not so much aesthetically, but operationally. And certainly, there's varying perspectives from the franchisee side as well as from the franchisor side. Making sure the business is right for the type of person coming into the franchise system. Making sure that, that this franchisee that's selling is in compliance. Make sure operationally they're well staffed. Make sure their review sites aren't, putting out messages that are of a glaring problem. And the list goes on and on. So the best practices that I could say is really, getting the house in order and ready for sale to a new franchisee coming into a system, a lot different than buying into an independent business.
We love it as a bank when the franchisor handpicks somebody, a strong operator from their existing system to take over a struggling store. That makes the lending decision that much easier. We don't have to rely so much on, can you turn this store around? We know you've already managed 10 locations successfully, and you have a proven model, and you have other cash flow to support what might be a struggling store. So franchisors getting involved in struggling stores, helping them out, helping find successors, that goes a long way to a successful lending decision.
I think it just needs to be reasonable. Right. It has to make sense. If a transaction's going to happen, it has to make sense. And ultimately, especially if you're holding paper, right, you ultimately want to get paid on that. So if it doesn't make sense and you're setting up the buyer for failure, you have to be reasonable in the approach. I think you need to understand what you're buying. You have to understand what they're selling, what the system is, and does it agree with how you think the system should run. I have to believe in the brand is a big component of it. And does it make sense to you? You got to know what you're buying.
Right. And then so as you do that analysis, you're not just looking at the unit, but you're looking really at the system itself and doing the same kind of due diligence, but yet you have...
Yeah, I think the best practice is it goes both ways, right? If the house is in order and it makes sense, okay, and you're seeing that, okay, that's very good. But if the house isn't in order, is that a buying opportunity as well? Can you go in and have confidence in what you're doing and say, well, look at that, look what's going on there, evaluate that and make those improvements and capitalize on those opportunities as well?
The bank relies on the brand an awful lot when it's a franchise. It's an added piece to the underwriting process, and if that brand has a strong track record, performs well across the network, that makes the decision a lot easier, even if you don't have relevant industry experience as the buyer. Again, it's when the bank makes a loan to a franchise, I try to get our underwriters to understand that it's 60% the brand, 40% what the individual is bringing to the table.
It's a reality, but franchisees are really just shooting themselves in the foot when they look at selling their business and trying to explain through that. It never works out. And I've seen a lot of businesses close for various reasons because they couldn't really sell the business. Nobody would believe what they had, and then a life experience comes about and they wind up, closing the doors. And so, think about that as a franchisee, but as a franchisor, you have to make sure that you're educating your franchisees. Yeah, it's great. A lot of attorneys in the room say, well, we got our franchise agreement and that's the way we can enforce compliance. But the reality is, as franchisors, we have an obligation to continue to educate our franchisees and show them the best way and show them the best practices. And the only way to do it is by educating them and putting those type of, you know, questions on the table, challenges on the table, to make them realize that, you know, 2 years down the road you might be selling. You know, you're not only hurting, you know, us by not putting money into our system by undercutting on the royalties, you're hurting your staff, you're hurting your potential, whatever your legacy is going to be. You know, you're hurting all the opportunities for somebody to gain full value out of your business when you look to sell it.
I just want to thank everybody for their continued support of the PFA. The Philadelphia Franchise Association continues to grow. We continue to have a packed house at our events. The panel, as you see, has been excellent, informative, educational, and the feedback I've gotten from people is that it's not only a wonderful networking opportunity, but they've really taken away and learned something from the events. So please, check the website. You'll see the next upcoming meeting, and you know, if you haven't attended in the past, I urge you to attend in the future, and you know, let people know about it, whether you're a franchisor, a franchisee, or a friend and supplier to the industry. We look forward to seeing you at the next PFA. Thank you.